Thank you. There being a quorum present, this meeting is in session. May I please have approval of the minutes?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The motion stands approved. I'm going to skip over chair remarks and proceed to our line items under unfinished business. Line item number 1 is from Detroit Public Library. This is a ballot proposal approved by the Detroit Library Commission on March 18, 2014 for the millage renewal of the Detroit Public Library. May I please have a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Thank you. I know Ms. Mondowney is here. Did you want to join us at the table, please? So we can kind of give a update of what's been going on. We brought this line item back. There was some questions as to if council really should be taking on this issue and placing this on the ballot for voters to decide. So first, let's get an update from Law.
Good afternoon, Tanya Long, Assistant Corporation Counsel for the City of Detroit. Madam Chair, I did check prior to coming up, as was requested by a member of staff, and May 13th is the last day to which ballot proposal questions may be certified for inclusion on the August the 5th primary ballot. That being thoughtful in the amount of time that we have left, it may be, once Ms. Mondowney has made her her presentation to this honorable body, appropriate to move the matter without recommendation, with the expectation that the law department would have finished its research and be able to provide some definitive response or recommendation to this body for whether or not this should actually be voted on. That would give us until Tuesday to be able to hopefully finish up those last minute issues that the law department really believes it needs to be able to continue to review. Unfortunately, the issue that was placed before this body 3 weeks ago is very complex. I believe I had indicated that on a prior date. And we've been reviewing the initial statutory language that establishes the Detroit Public Library in 1901, 1903, 1905, and then there's just a great body of work and conflicting opinions throughout the years as to whether this is an appropriate question for this body to weigh in on, or if it is properly something that would go to the Election Commission for inclusion on the ballot. And in order to be able to best advise our client, this body, we're simply asking for just a wee bit more time, keeping in mind there is a deadline to which the language can be before the Election Commission. I believe that would be the most prudent course of action.
Okay. Ms. Mondowney, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. First of all, we thank you for revisiting this matter because it's critical to the library, and we appreciate all the time the law department has spent on trying to resolve the issue. We are thankful for your consideration, and we do hope that we reach consensus on whether or not the matter should be brought before this council in a way that supports the library's millage. And we do have that window of time, and hopefully it can be done. As I said before, historically it has been a complex issue regarding the library status and how it was established and what it is and who has to bring the ballot, the proposal put forth on the ballot, and historically we have had the support of the City Council in that matter.
Okay. And I just want to state, for the record, that I am in support of the Detroit Public Library. However, I do want to make sure that we follow the correct procedures moving forward and that we're doing this in the appropriate way. So, Councilmember Tate, I know you had a comment.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you through the chair to Attorney Long. Oh, it's so funny. Like this. Oops, excuse me. What would be the harm if this body, instead of voting, if we felt that way, this committee, to approve and send that to formal as opposed to without recommendation, if in fact it's determined that we did not have the authority, if you will? What's the harm in that? I mean, didn't it just get invalidated, correct?
That is accurate. There is no harm in doing in submitting it with approval. The only thing I would caution this body, and I don't want to speak out of turn, is not to consider that we're approving the millage, because I don't think this body, that's right, whether or not this body has the authority or is required to, without having some initial information, whether this body is required to approve the millage language for certification to the ballot, which is typically a function of the Department of Elections commissioners. So it is just making sure that, I believe, without exception, this body supports the library. It's simply whether or not it's the function of this body to approve this particular language.
So, but what I was more getting towards, if we again felt at this table that we agreed, and then at the formal, felt that we supported the language going on the ballot, and we approved it, and it's determined that it really is in the authority of the election commission, correct? And then what negative will occur as a result of that? Because I just don't want it to be hanging based upon what we're doing or not doing. Because the election commission, I assume, they're working on their ends as well.
It would not have been submitted to the election commission yet, right? The only issue that potentially could happen, because this has to do with millages and taxes, is that ultimately, should it be improperly put before the voters of the city, that there could be litigation about whether it was properly submitted and ultimately be invalidated.
Right. But in the meantime, all the other work still takes place, is what I'm saying. So
Yes.
we can move this thing forward as opposed to it being kind of in limbo still, even without recommendation. Because again, if we feel at this table, and I don't know if that's the case, but if we decide that we want to move forward with an actual recommendation, and Tuesday, that will be the following Tuesday, right? I think we're now outside of the realm of next Tuesday. Unless we put it on the business, which I think would be prudent
Yes.
for us to do. So by Tuesday, then, let's say hypothetically speaking, the information that we were seeking from the law department is not there yet. I don't want this to be the holdup. If we were to move it forward as a body, right, is there a way that it could be retracted, even if it's determined that we did not have that authority, but the election commission did? Because I would assume that at this point, it would just be prudent for the election commission also to be having the same conversation right now, because we are so close up to the deadline.
Well, there's no, through the chair, there's no question that the election commission has the power to certify language to the ballot that's before them. This body could take affirmative action if it was determined after they approved it to withdraw that or reconsider it within a particular amount of time. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. I believe that we're at the final stages. Ms. Pastor and I have both been working on this and have engendered the support of some of our colleagues to have an answer for you as expeditiously as possible. If it was the will of this body to move this forward to new business, which I agree would be prudent for Tuesday, with recommendation of approval, then there's certainly no harm for that. But Tuesday would probably need to be the day that this body made a final determination on how they wanted to move it, either approve it or not approve it. But certainly there's no harm in how this committee moves it to the body as a whole, either without recommendation or with recommendation.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question. I'm sorry, Member Tate.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Ms. Long, so if in fact we do move it to new business on Tuesday and we get the report prior to Tuesday that states that no, in fact, council should not place this on the ballot, then what happens then?
Then this body would vote, however this body decided to
Okay.
vote. And then I believe the backup would be that the Library Commission would
Okay.
forward that language directly to the Election
And then they
Commission
will place it.
without this body.
Okay. Councilmember Tate. I'm sorry.
Like, I come up here.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, through you to, actually, I'm glad you walked in, to the President. When is the next election commission meeting?
It is not, I'm sorry, through the chair, it has not yet been scheduled.
I can tell you that a election commission meeting has not been scheduled to date.
There could be a
I
call.
talked to the clerk on yesterday. and I don't know when one will be scheduled.
Okay.
I can talk to her
It could be
again.
called? It could
Sure.
be-
An
Okay.
election commission
Okay.
can be, meeting can be called at any point. There's only 3 people that serve on the election commission, which is the corporation council office, law department office, council president, and the clerk, the chair, who is the chair of the election commission.
I ask that, thank you, Madam President, I ask that through you again, Madam Chair, if by chance we find out we can't do it, and we hope they can get a meeting, I'm sure they can, but just say things don't work out, this May 13th deadline for the August primary, can you move it back to the November primary if need be, or you really need it in August?
Our preference
Is August?
is August.
Okay.
We do have an opportunity, however, in November.
Okay.
But the preference
Okay.
of the commission
Okay.
is August.
Okay.
All right, really quick, LPD, you had your,
Yes, I did. Julianne Paschal from LPD. Just to, going back to the issue where is, if on Tuesday it is determined by the law department writing that council's approval of the ballot language is not necessary, in the past city councils have either approved the ballot language or just simply supported the efforts.
Right.
So, again, the resolution could be easily modified instead of approving the language for the ballot for forwarding to the election commission. It could just be that the city council would support the language, because I do also believe that it enjoys wide support with council members. So that, of course, could be another option on Tuesday.
okay. I know back in 2000, council only showed support, and then in 2004, they actually approved a resolution, correct? Okay, so I guess to my colleagues, how do you all feel as far as moving forward? Did you want to do something in support of, or do you want to go ahead and move the resolution to Tuesday?
I'm supporting Tuesday.
Okay.
Move approval, and recommendation to place on new business.
Okay. And then to Ms. Long, you're saying prior to Tuesday, we should receive some type of report that states,
You will, Tanya Long again, you will receive a communication
Okay.
With a response from my office. Whether it will be a formal writing, given the very significant time restraints and the complexity of the issue, I'm not certain of. But a communication will come from my office to each one of the council offices, explaining the reason for the determination.
Okay.
Or for the recommendation of this body.
okay. Councilmember Spivey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To you, through you to Ms. Long. At this writing Tuesday on the future, how can we get something definitive? So I won't be here 10 years from now when this millage is up and they come back again. How do we get something definitive where we know for surety that it has to come through this body or not? So there's some things you found out we approved and you said we don't approve in years past. How do we, because there's conflicting reports, I'm told, or I assume.
Yes.
Is there any definitive we can say, so in 2025 or 2024, that we can say this is how it's supposed to be, elected commission or city council?
The law department keeps records internally, and for purposes of future research, we can coalesce a file that we can maintain that would have all of this research and the recommendation contained therein, so that it would not have to be redone. And for this body's edification, the research that I've done goes back to law department opinions in the 40s. So there's a whole body of history that most of them are confidential, so there are things that I cannot give to you. Well, I could give them to you as this body unless they were for another entity. But there's a whole history of opinions that we use in making these determinations. And this is one of those things that there's a number of writings on. And so we can place and maintain that file so that hopefully this answer would not, or this question would not pose such a problem again.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Very briefly, though, going along with what Ms. Long said, unfortunately, under the 1901 statutes, the relationship between the city and the Library Commission were clear. Over the last hundreds of years, that relationship is not clear. And then you put case law with it, attorney general opinions, internal opinions, And it really is a Lansing fix that's needed to give the library the clarity that it needs because of the way that it was incorporated, because of its uniqueness. But we really expected it to be a very easy question and have found exactly the opposite to be true in this case.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mandowney, did you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one more statement regarding this, and I thank you for that, because we are struggling with defining who we really are. And we often have to say that we are a hybrid, but very much tied to the city of Detroit. In the past, as the law department and political analysts may have noted, each time the library's millage has gone before the voters, it's always been challenged by opposing people saying we didn't have the authority to do so and so forth. And so we don't want to get to a point where it's challenged in a way that it restricts us from moving forward. And that is why we're trying to look at the most secure way to move forward on this, given the fact that we are in an uncertain situation about who we are.
Okay. Did you have anything, Councilperson? Okay, so thank you, Ms. Mandowney, for coming today, and we are going to, there's a motion to move this to new business, line item number 1 to new business. Is there a motion to? You already made it? Yeah. Okay, so that motion stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving to new business from the Recreation Department, line item number 2, submitting report relative to petition number 174, petition of Right of Silence, request to hold the National Right of Silence Day on May 21st, 2014, from 7 to 8 p.m. May I have a motion to discuss?
So moved.
All right, I did receive the completed report from Ms. Mobley today. Also, just to clarify that even though this event will begin and end on Belle Isle, the actual bike tour will be downtown, so that's why it's coming to this body. Is there any questions from colleagues? Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair. Does the group need approval from DNR?
That was one of the questions that I had.
If so, do they know they need approval?
Ms. Mobley.
Through the chair, I can take that question back, but if the route is downtown and is not on Belle Isle, they may not require that approval from DNR.
Well, I know that they're meeting and ending at Shelter 2, so I'm assuming they would have to reserve the shelter.
Right, they would have
Through
reserved the
right.
shelter.
Okay. I just make sure they know.
But
they
I
have to do that.
can
Okay.
check into that too.
We'll get ticketed.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
So we'll follow up in regards to them reserving Shelter 2 with the state, but as far as our end, the city has approved the report. So there's a motion to approve? Thank you, that motion stands approved. And that is the end of our line items. We will now move to public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before you move to public comment, because I need to get back to pension board meeting, if I can just let the committee know that I have been in conversation with the state in regards to the Belle Isle situation. There are some preliminary investigations that are going on. There are some things we have agreed to, and we will continue our conversation as the investigations continue.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask to just put it on hold as I continue to work with the state.
Put the conversations
Regarding
regarding.
Belle Isle.
Okay, because you set a discussion for Belle Isle, correct?
I have not set
Not
the
yet?
discussion yet.
But we are going to have one in the coming weeks, probably.
Yeah, I want to just, like I said, put it on hold right now as I'm continuing to work with the state, as they're doing preliminary investigations, and we're still talking.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
Is anyone here for public comment? Ms. Dara? Okay. All right.
Show you later.
Yeah, this is May Day, y'all.
2 minutes,
You're
Cindy.
supposed to not come to work today. But now that you have, when you get off work, go over to Central Methodist Church, and they're gonna have speak outs and rallies and food and from 3 o'clock on, and then at 6:30, Emma Goldman, she's a famous anarchist of a couple hundred years, or over 100 years ago, I think, and she's, they're going to talk about her at Swords and Plowshares, which is a little storefront, part of Central Methodist Church at Woodward and Adams, across from Comerica. It's glass front on the Adams side, and on the back side, it's just a steel door with Swords and Plowshares on it. You can park behind the church, so you can park on the north side of the church. But it's been a lot of fun. We started out at UAW, Local 600 at Dix in Wyoming, and there was, I was late as usual, but it was ecumenical unity against emergency management, the moral issue of emergency management, and then Tawanda had to get some poetry. Then the people spoke out. It was very interesting to hear the different people talk about how they're being affected in their communities. Then we had a caravan all the way downtown, and I had a lot of fun honking at people and, playing like call and response with the honking and stuff. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, come out, it's May Day. We need to start standing up and looking at this. You need to read if you can, find the actual copies of the plan of adjustment on the internet and read them, at least skim them and try and figure out what you really want in them, because I'm afraid the bonds aren't going to be good enough for our to have us a good future, and we don't want to lose our water department, our art, or our pensions. They really, the whole principle, we need to stand on principle and not just try and figure out little amounts of money that don't really mean much. But I'm a little worried about, I do think that we might be going into inflation because the government won't be able to, they'll have to raise the rate to get people to buy their bonds. And so we got to be careful about this future bonds that this Jesus Christ, our EM, thinks he's got and can do everything, but everything he's done so far that I've seen down here has been a catastrophe for our future and long-term good.
Thank you. Okay. That is the end of public comment. We will now move to member reports. Councilmember Tate.
Negative report, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Spivey.
No report, thank you.
Okay. Just really quick, wanted to announce that I will be holding a info session at Tech Town along with any ideas. They have a business challenge to give existing businesses anywhere between $10,000 and $100,000 to help grow their business. That will be held Thursday, May the 8th at Tech Town. Once again, myself, along with any ideas, will be hosting a informational session to help existing business in the challenge that any ideas is providing. So if you need information, the number to my office is 313-224-4505. That's 313-224-4505, and that will be held Thursday, May the 8th at Tech Town. If there is no further business to come before this body,
Move adjournment, Madam Chair.
motion to adjourn. So moved.